Alright, hey guys, here we are back for another guide. This is going to be hole number 3 that we're looking at here. So one of the things that you can technically do with an advanced bag, you can maybe try to get it up there. I don't think it'll squeak without maybe an epox 7, and that's still a huge maybe. I still don't think it'll make it. You can see this is what my opponent's doing. What I do like about this approach is even when it goes in the rough, you're up there close enough that you can still recover. So it essentially takes your thinking out of the equation. All you need to do is just blast it up here into the rough, and then you can get it close enough to get yourself to a perfect distance for your next shot. As I mentioned, you'll need at least a epox 7 to maybe consider getting that there, and I'd probably also recommend a snow globe as well. So alternatively, all I'm going to do is just put it out into the fairway. This is kind of the approach where you need to make sure that you hit it in the fairway, because if you do miss the fairway, that's where the problems are going to arise. That's why I like that other approach, is because you don't have to worry about, am I going to be in the fairway? You just hit it up there as far as possible, and you're still within range no matter what happens. And with this one, you can see I actually did go through too much. So typically that's been an okay adjustment in the past. Like, that's not typically too much topspin. It just kind of took kind of a bad bounce more so than anything. I'm just going to pitch it back because it's essentially a wasted shot more so than anything. It's going to be more beneficial for you guys to be able to see the fairway shot than it is for me to scramble from the bunker. So another thing that you can do, if I would have just kind of changed my pull angle a little bit and rotated the screen just a little bit more and pulled more back towards the tee, it probably would have held up. Similarly, I can back off a little on the topspin. I've always used kind of about that topspin with that shot, and typically it doesn't create a problem, but this time it did roll through for whatever reason. But no big deal. As I mentioned, it's only Monday. This is kind of the day that you want to stay aggressive. You want to kind of test the limits of what you can do, so that way well, back off from this for the rest of the week. So it's not necessarily anything bad when you do, wind up in the rough, because it just shows you, well, I can't do this. The more things that you learn you can't do, the better. And especially come Monday, Tuesday, if you're learning the things you can't do, that's kind of even better. So that way you're less prone to have the same similar thing happen when the time counts. So again, as I mentioned, opponent here easily able to get it up to the green in 3, even has a reasonable chance to hold out there. So what I'm going to do here, there's kind of two things I can do. I can either try to blast it up here, get it up to short iron. I did kind of show you the long iron approach. So since I already did that, let's just try to blast this up here, and we'll try to get it to short iron range. So there's 8 rings. We're going to go about 10-ish rings, maybe come in a little bit off the power. So here you can see we are blasting it up here, getting it right in between, trying to focus on precision, making sure that it doesn't top spin too much, and we're just going to essentially set ourselves up for a nice short iron. So it's going to be another way to go about doing it. If you do want to see the long iron shot, do check out my other guide. However, you may need to make a little bit of a tweak. I did catch a great ball, but it's just something, I'm giving you starting points and something that you can be thinking about and trying to tweak as your week progresses. So typically what I'll do here is right around 3 on the backspin, and that third bounce has to land very tight on the hole. So you can also see, I'm maybe towards mid club. However, I'm going to still do a bit of an overplay here. So I'm thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of 8-ish rings anyway. Maybe just a tad bit light of 8. That's 7.8. So 7.8, kind of toward mid-ish club. And it's still just a touch much. That was probably half a ring or so, 0.4 rings, maybe too much. So if I would have went 7.4, 7.3 rings, which is almost 1 per ring. So, but the things that you have to consider, if you get a little bit closer to the hole, you're going to have less airtime. You're going to have to go less rings. If you do get a little bit more towards max, my adjustment was probably perfect. So I was only off by, if I was probably about 6 or 7 yards behind myself, that might have been the perfect adjustment. So these are kind of just the things that you need to be thinking about. Make sure that you're not playing too systematically the same ring numbers no matter what. You'll want to test that min-max span every single time and just try to see where your depth is. Where does +1 start to show up on your screen? And if it's close to where you're use that as a guide. Like if it's, 4 boxes from where your typical adjustment is, if you're 5 boxes next time, you got to make sure that you're doing just a 1-yard tweak. You may want to go 0.1 less, for example. So you do want to, just try to get as precise as possible and just start to get that dialed in. Good luck with that hole. I'll see you guys on 4.